Welcome to the bold analysis. Recently, a television producer was telling me that they've been trying to get interviews from government offices, from ministers, and it's a tall order. There is a lot of delays and cancellations and protocols that comes into it. And we were talking about, in fact, he was giving me a comment on the decision by president to allow ministers to go to parliament. He was saying that it is going to be very interesting because the Kenyan people and even the media will find opportunities then even to interview ministers of government outside government offices and away from studios. Sometimes when they're in field, it's very difficult to get an exclusive interview unless you get from Moses Kuria, who is normally very friendly, but many a bit of a problem. And by the end of that conversation, one thing we came out was that despite of Hursler Fund being one of the pet projects, the biggest project by Kenya Kwanza, do you know that CS in charge of that is yet to appear on an exclusive TV show, or rather to market that? And the observation was very clear that there seems to be the government operatives from the president, the executive, have slowed down and toned down on publicity and bit of awareness on that project. And what they have opted to say in public is not to tell Kenyans to go for the loan, but just 1 month after its roll-up, they are talking more about successes. In fact, they will tell you about number of Kenyans that have taken the loans, the repayments. They will tell you about those who have repaid, those who have not, those who have subscribed. There is bit on success stories of the project is what is being told, but they are not, the messaging is not on telling you, are you a Kenyan who is interested in XYZ? Because someone was telling me there was there are those who tried to write proposals of advertising, so that they do even like skits and public service announcements in the radio stations. That are you someone who is interested in business and you can start with as little as 500? You need to dial X blah 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 to make sure you receive Hursler Fund. Now that's what people in the media thought about, but that is not being done. So deliberately, people are not talking about Hursler Fund. Now today, I want to play for you this clip. This is the clip of Ruto talking in Homabay, and he was talking to a group of some market women who are selling fish and menas and so. And when he was telling them about how, and I think he was talking for the creation or rather building of that market, how building that market is going to help them, they confronted him and told him about the limit. It was a very clear, even though as a politician he managed. I wanted to listen to that.
Sasa hii soko yenu tunaenda kuwajengea pale soko mpya. Unanielewa? Na pale tutajenga soko, tutawapangia mahali ya cold room, tutawapangia mahali ya chila, na tutaweka mpango ya processing ya ile samaki mtatoa, ndio muweze kupata soko sawa sawa na muweze kuuza. Muuze hapa nyumbani, muuze katika masoko hapa Kenya, na muuze katika masoko ya kimataifa vile vile. Iwinjo, unanielewa? Tumekubaliana? Tumekubaliana na huyu gavana wenu Gladys ya kwamba county government watafanya kazi pamoja na sisi ili tuwapatie nafasi ya kufanya biashara hapa. Tunaelewana? Sasa utakuwa unachukua pesa ya Hursler Fund, unapanga mambo yako, unapanga biashara yako, alafu unalipa. Unasema tuongeze? Tuongeze? Very good.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I took that because I know the intelligence is working with the president, is going with the president everywhere. And they captured that. That should be a wake up call because the group of women that were talking there represents hustler that was defined at the campaign trail. I am saying without fear of contradiction that if President Ruto was also supposed to call a group of bodabodas and even go to markets like the guys like Laikipia somewhere in the market and talk to the women that are doing business there and they talk about Hursler Fund, he will be reminded about the limit. Even if he is to go to talk to boda, the mamambongas, they will all talk about the loan limit. And so that's a message. And remember, as we talk, the concept was you start small and you build your limit pole pole. Now, he was on TV recently saying that your limit, they're going to revise the limits, I think, towards the end of January. So, saizi, no limit increment. Everyone has his own limit. And the one you have is the one you have. There is no limit change. So that's something that he spoke about, and I got it a bit interesting because it represents the voice of the people. I like that because if Ruto was to go to talk to the youth, to go to talk to the women, the discussion, or rather the reaction that he received from Homabay, it's not a political reaction. I know people have always taken cover by saying that Azimio might have discouraged supporters. But those people are confronting President there not because of political affiliation, not because of what the other side of the political divide is saying. They're actually confronting it's natural and it's the reality. And that's why I can say it's a reality check. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. Now, I think even me recently, I had an interview with some youths here in Nairobi, and I got some reaction on this. Just have a glimpse of that.
Kila naye mimi silipi. Asla mimi naye silipi. Ukweli yenye iko. Niliokopa 500. Lakini mimi sitarudisha. Hiyo ni pesa yetu na naona ni kidogo. Mimi kwangu naona hata alinipea kidogo. Juu nakumbuka William Samoei Ruto alikuwa anawacha pesa mingi sana kwa makanisa. Sasa kunipea hii 500 naona kama alinidharau. Na nilichukua baadaye ilinisaidia nilinyana nayo ndefu. Na silipi. Hiyo naye mimi naye silipi. Tunasikia Azimio inakuja. Hiyo nayo tutalipa, na ukikataa kulipa hiyo tutakuja kwa nyumba yako, lakini hii naye inatulipi. Inatulipi. Mimi kwa upande wangu silipi.
Ile pesa nilikopa siku hiyo nilikuwa na hitaji mahali. Kwanza nilikuwa nimempeleka mtoto hospitalini, alafu zile fedha nilikuwa nayo haikuwa inatoshia. Na kwa sababu nilikuwa najua limit yangu ilikuwa kiwango fulani 500. Nikaingia pale nikabonyeza, nikapewa pesa, nikatuma. Kwa sababu nilikuwa nahitaji na ile pesa siku ile. So inanibidi nitafute pesa mahali popote nirudishe ile pesa, kwa sababu ilinisaidia. So ijalishi hata kama sikufanya naye biashara, lakini kwa sababu iliniokolea siku hiyo inanilazimisha mimi nirudishe ile pesa, kwa sababu ilinisaidia. Kwa sababu hakuna mtu angenipea hiyo pesa siku hiyo.
So the baseline here is this, that Hursler Fund is not popular as it may be, as people might actually want it to be, or as the framers, or rather as the project bearers might want it to be. And President and the executive toned down on that Hursler Fund demand creation or publicity. I'll tell you why. Low repayment rate. This is worrying the repayment stands at, I think, 50%, and if it has crossed kidogo, even though that is data we are being given. And if the repayment rate was to be at 30%, do you expect that you're going to be told that it's at 30%? No. So that maybe is the true representation of the situation, or the situation is worse and is being reframed so that it also doesn't show that it's a failed project, and now you need to manage exit, or manage how you're going to say it. There is low repayment period, low repayment level. So the high default rate is something that, that fund should be a revolving fund, where the more you pay, you borrow, you pay government to get your interest and whatever is saved, and when you pay is the time then also another person can get to borrow. If you borrow and repay, that is what will make the fund to be available. It should not be that you borrow until after 2 months all of it has been borrowed. Now government have to pump in more money there for it to survive. And I am scared that may be it. And so what they might have realized is they want to reduce the traffic on the Hursler Fund, USSD, or rather the Hursler Fund traffic project. So one of the ways to manage the traffic, apart from hitches, and you can also create selectively, you can be denied Hursler Fund. Okay, kutaka create firewalls so that you give it to less or a specific number of people in a day. It's possible because it's something in IT, and IT guys can work on that. Secondly, they can just minimize on the publicity of it. The more you market it, the more people relate with it, and the more people go there. And the risk here is, as a politician or as people who are in public, you don't talk to only the business people. Mostly you even realize that when president speaks in Homabay, for example, when president speaks in Homabay, everyone anasikia. So the president and the politicians, all people listen to them, both those who are entrepreneurial and those who are not entrepreneurial, who may not even be into business. And so that's why they've decided that, look here, we are not going even to do demand creation, awareness, and not even awareness on repayment, because even awareness on repayment still tells and reminds people about Hursler Fund. And that would be because of the backlash of the limit. If one thing I've always said, it's a good project. It's a very good idea, guys. It's a very good idea. But they missed the point on the limit. Why? The idea was birthed to intervene on Shylocks, or rather it was access to financing, because many people during economic forums were telling the President Kenya Kwanza team that the Shylocks in the markets and the centers are exploiting business people with ridiculous interest rates. So they introduced a fund that, one, the rate was low, and again it was also easy, where you don't need to start talking to people, know the Shylock person, know that person, the access to financing, because access to financing was a problem. Now, the issue of access to financing was supposed to finance business so that it can spur economic growth. But with that limit, just capturing from what the Homabay women team group are saying, is that it can't. Like those ones don't want to start business. Wanaendelea, and they're telling you ongeza kidogo, ongeza hiyo ni kidogo. So that's what it is. That most of what many people have been saying here is, those who would take Hursler Fund are not the ones to start. Ni wenye wanaendelea. Shilingi 500 is not enough for you to start sitting down saying, I want to come up with a concept and do business. But those who are already in business, if you give them 10,000, they can continue, and that will be a good. And of course, those are also responsible business people. Number 3, why they have withdrawn publicity on that is government realized that there is little impact to the economy. I want to know that even after 1 month, we want to see government have all the infrastructures, and from the treasury, county governments, and KRA and all. They can ask KRA, bana, hii pesa tumeweka hapa, utashachukua bilioni kumeenda aje? About taxes you are collecting. People know consumption. So they might have realized that as much as people are taking this money, and it has not had much of that effect. And that is why President may not be talking about it. It's possible that the few I have spoken with about Hursler Fund have always told me that it's not for business. They've always told me, I took it kulipa token, me I took it kulipa, which is there is no problem. Hata ukilipa token the next day, pay it, because token ikiisha the other time when you are also in crisis, you may also need it. So it's more of a crisis fund, if you ask me. But the crisis aspect, that doesn't solve economy because it goes to the household spending. And so those who come back to borrow, also, I wonder, because if I am taking 500, the limit has not changed, and I'm coming back to borrow, so am I still growing? So these businesses will start, the limits will start growing in January. Lastly, I feel the private sector is also suppressing the Hursler Fund. Remember, it's a competition, it's a competitive product to some of the products that mobile loans are providing, that mobile providers are providing, and other providers, the other loan products, like the banks and so. So the banks are not selling. In fact, they cannot help you with them, they don't have. But Safaricom cannot do messages telling you about Hursler Fund or that unless wanakudai pesa, but not to remind you that you can take Hursler Fund to do something. No. Unless wanakudai pesa, wanakudai ile loan. So most of them, they can also create those firewalls so that when the project collapses, they're in a competition and they're in business. Even the people that are crafted and were the brains behind Hursler Fund also have interest on the other products. So that's it. You cannot compare Hursler Fund and Fuliza or Hursler Fund with Mshwari. Your leader can have shares in, they have shares in Safaricom. So follow Safaricom because of Hursler Fund, it's neither here nor there. So that's what I'm saying, that there is also an inside deal to suppress. Even media is not doing the space. And what they can suppress, they can just suppress media not to cover this. That's why I believe that it's a matter of time. Let's wait and see how this is going to roll.